Hi, this is a little talk offering some suggestions on things to think about in writing your own Passacaglia for our counterpoint class. A Passacaglia is a musical form that started back in the Renaissance but was especially popular during the Baroque era, but is still used since then. Brahms, for example, wrote a number of Passacaglias, and even today you'll find music in the form of a Passacaglia composed by film composers and people of that sort. Another name for a Passacaglia, by the way, is a chaconne. And there are quite a few pieces called chaconnes, and they're basically exactly the same thing as a Passacaglia. And what that thing is simply a bass line that repeats over and over again. In this example that I put together for you, the bass line is a simple one that walks up a D minor scale, has a chromatic F sharp about halfway through, goes up to the high 5 scale degree, drops down to the low 5 scale degree, and then starts over again. Passacaglia subjects are typically 4 bars long, oftentimes 8 bars long, usually an even number. Passacaglias are also usually in 3/4 or 3/2 time, some sort of triple meter. The primary idea, though, is above this repeating bass line, the treble part starts off with fairly slow rhythms that more or less match the rhythm of the bass part. But as the piece progresses, those rhythms in the treble part become more and more active, building up frequently to a pretty exciting moment in the piece where there's a lot of activity. In this example we're going to look at today, they start off in more or less 1-against-1 counterpoint in the first pass through this bass line. In the second one, it's still more or less 1-against-1, and in both of these I tried to use a few suspensions because it's in these early slower variations where the suspensions work very well. You can see in the first 4 bars, there's a suspension across each of those bar lines. You'll also notice that as the music progresses, there start to be faster rhythmic values. And this one, in the third pass through, which is in the lower system you're looking at, there's some eighth notes mixed in. Most measures have 1 or even a few more eighth notes. It's kind of a hybrid of 1-against-1 and 2-against-1. In the fourth pass, there are quite a few eighth notes, but still not continuous eighth notes. By this point, the suspensions have kind of disappeared. In the fifth pass, in this example, it's all eighth notes. So that's the culmination of the eighth note passage, and it's the sixth pass where we start to move beyond eighth notes. And in this one, we're moving towards running sixteenths, but it's not continuous running sixteenths. You can see it's a mix of eighth notes with a few sixteenths thrown in, particularly at the ends of the measures. In the seventh pass, we do get the continuous sixteenths. So the sixth pass is sort of a transitional pass between the eighth note one and the full 16th one. The eighth pass is something that's optional. What was in the bass part moves into the treble part. As you can see, this ascending line walks on up and is simply moved from the bass to the treble. And it's the lower voice that has the active line this time. And it's sort of like the sixth pass in that it's a combination of eighth notes mixed with 16th notes. And in the final variation, the ninth pass through this, the treble part, it kind of goes back to that combination of eighths and sixteenths. And the bass part looks like it's given up the bass line, the Passacaglia subject, but it really hasn't. If you'll notice, D that started at half note is now still there as a dotted quarter, but then 2/16 ornament it, passes up through the E. So all of the notes of the original Passacaglia subject are still there. They've just been embellished, and in such a way as to kind of dialogue with the rhythms of the treble part. The piece ends with an extra note, of course, a D, to bring it back to the tonic note. I'll now play a recording and show you the score as it goes by, so you can hear what this Passacaglia sounds like when it's all put together.